Right, I wanted to make a video about all the ways that normies or people in the mainstream or people that love to be accepted by social society's rules are desperate for validation from other people, kind of basic people. Whether this is in the white suburb community, or even the Latino community, like your typical like ghetto guy and girl, the people that just want to be socially validated. And most people are like this until the age of from the range of 30 to 40. By 40, pretty much mostly everyone is kind of matured past this whole validation from other people, from society and stuff. After 40, it seems like all people, all the guys and girls, not all of them, but most all guys and girls are kind of just like, I don't care. I don't care if I don't have friends, or they stop caring. But it seems like from the 20s to like late 20s and starts dying around 30s, people are really desperate for being accepted by other people around them, and really insecure in that way. In that way, so, and they'll always say like, oh, like incels, the groups of incels are very judgy. They judge everyone. Really, it's the normies and the mainstream that are the ones doing the judging every day. And I write down notes when they judge me, when they judge people, subtly telling them that they're not normal, and that's a really bad thing. We always preach this whole diversity, openness, but a lot of people are still not open towards other people, especially in the West. So I want to tell you how. And this is coming from like not just bad people, just like people that are you deem like good, but they don't know any better. So they're just the in the cog function. They're in the machine, and that's just how their brains work, unfortunately. So I'll give you an example. So number one is like they'll judge people like, oh, you live there, so they'll judge basic people. They'll judge people like where they live. Oh, you live in that place. You're not living in a hip or in place. So they'll judge you based off that. If you don't live in a nice place or a hip place or a upcoming place, that's one thing they'll judge you off. Or you live with your parents. That's another thing. Like they'll judge you off that. Oh, you live with your parents. They'll judge you off that. Um, so they'll look down on you because of that. Another one is you eat there, so or you still eat there. Like if you're not eating at the typical foodie approved places, if you're not eating at the new up and coming kind of chains that young people go to, or cooler people go to, or that are approved by, I don't know, the hip crowd or whatever, and they'll look down on you. They'll look down on you, or they'll ask you. They'll look at you weirdly, and they're not open to other people that eat at different places that maybe them and their crowd and the in crowd do. So that's another way they judge people, or like, especially this is very apparent around the Chipotle, Chick-fil-A crowd. Like if I eat some other place, and they'll just look at me like they'll say like you have no palate, or stuff like that. Like they'll just instantly disapproval of you because you're eating at a knockoff. Or so this is very normie, kind of low IQ stuff that a lot of people like to judge you on. Another one is Android. Like you have an Android, so not the basic quality a lot of normies have is like they'll judge you if you have an Android. Like, oh, why do you have an Android? Like you're not normal, or you're not up to their standard, which makes no sense. I mean, this is like some low IQ people will tell me this stuff, um, and they're like, oh, Apple's more, I don't know. And so another very like judgy kind of normie, kind of low IQ qualities. Like they'll judge you based on having an Android or on having a crappy phone. Um, I actually got told this by one of my person my age, like late 20s. So it's pretty sad. But so that's one. Another one is you don't travel. Like so if you don't travel, like this is very apparent even with people in like their 40s and 50s. Even I think around 50s and after, it kind of dies down as people are like, oh, you have kids, you have family, you can't, you're kind of more settled down. But still very apparent. Like a lot of people will judge you because maybe you take some days off, and maybe you want to work on a passion project, or maybe you just want to chill out, and they'll say like, why didn't you travel anymore? Are you going anywhere fun? And you say no, and then for me, I would say like, oh, that's cool, but some people will just like give you like, oh, why are you not going? And like they'll give you like this little, if you're in with person and with them, they'll give you this little disapproval look, like you're weird if you're not traveling. Um, If you're not traveling somewhere exotic or something like that, if you're not taking pictures, and they'll look at you like you're weird. You can't just be in peace, you know. So people will judge you if you're not traveling, if you're not having a vacation, extravagant vacation, or where did you go, and you know what I mean. Like, so they judge you if you don't travel, and that's very normal. Look, go on any Reddit and put up, you don't, I don't like to travel. They get loads of comments upvoting saying that you're missing out on different experiences, you're missing out on other cultures, when really it's the people that travel at the most I've seen are the most closed-minded people out there. One of the girls I've seen that I've on their Instagrams have been to Ibiza, Spain, and all these very like 30 countries are like knocking countries down. And when you meet them, they're one of the most closed-minded people that will judge you based off your phone, where you live, and all that stuff. So don't give me that travel opens up experiences. I say 10% of people that travel or 15% actually do gain something, but I think for 85% of it, it's for telling other people and showing off. But that's just my experience, and I agree with that all the way. My opinion, of course. One is if you don't like sports. Like if you don't like sports or around the sports about the certain city, they'll judge you based on, oh, you don't watch the this the this, you don't know when that came out. So this is stronger in some cities than other cities. Gladly, I'm thankful I'm not one of those cities where it's like it's the only thing that's pop. Like it's if you're not listening into if you're not watching sports, you're an outcast. It's still pretty bad. So if you don't like sports, like people, guys especially, will judge you. Um, but yeah, that's one thing. Let's see. Another one is you didn't watch that show on Netflix. Like, oh, you didn't see that latest show on Netflix, so they'll instantly judge. They'll instantly give some disapproval for that one if you're not caught up with the Netflix shows. It's like you gotta watch that. You gotta watch that, and then they'll just repeatedly tell you to watch. Like you have no choice almost. Like you have to watch something. Like you have to watch that what's on there, or if you're not, then like you're out of the mix. Like what's wrong with you? Kind of judgment. Another big one is if you don't drink. If you don't drink, you don't smoke. This is thankfully not as bad as in other countries. I think in other maybe like Eastern Europe or Latin America, if you don't drink, smoke. I mean, you can still get by, but I heard it's rougher there to the point where you just do it because you just there's no other way. But in the States, it's still pretty bad if you don't do drugs, especially maybe in the ghetto crowd. And then even in the suburb waspy crowd, it's still pretty bad if you don't drink smokes. You don't drink, so there you're judged as well. Even this is up to adulthood. Like if you don't drink, like everyone has to drink, you know. And so and you do meet people. There's a lot of good people that don't judge you on that, but there are definitely a good portion of people that see you as outcast and weird if you don't want to drink or smoke, um, and disapprove of you instantly. Um, so yeah, so they like to say that a lot of us black, a lot of people that they like to say that these kinds of people, incel crowds that are judgy, but really, I've noticed they're actually one of the most open people out there because they're incels of all kinds of colors, race, heights. I mean, actually, incels are probably one of the most open people out there. They'll have a black cell talking to like a rice cell, talking to like a hapa cell, and they're just very open experiences about like what's going on here and there. And a lot of times you don't get judgments from other cells. You'll be like, oh yeah, I ate it. I don't like. I like to go to Cordova, or I like to go to this place because it's cheaper and it's quicker. It's like, oh yeah, I don't have a car, or like, yeah, I can't drive. Like all these flaws, and everyone's just so open about it. That's just not real life, man. Like real life, like you have to have like this finished product, and people judge you if you don't have it. Like especially the normies, but incels are some of the most open people out there that have all these flaws, and they're all accepting of all these flaws with other guys because you're all brothers. So really, it's the normies that are doing the judging, and especially in the West, it's more amplified. This is globally, I think normies are judgy, but in the West, like amplified because of this spoiled, entitled generation. But that's just what I think. Yeah.